So this is Cells, the Battles of the Bulge Volume 1 from Revolution Games and Roger Miller, with graphics by Mark Mahaffey. He actually did the art on Picket Duty, which I just finished, which is right there. Beautiful, beautiful map. The chits, the counters are pretty straightforward. We have attack, defense, and movement. So this is a fairly traditional hex and counter game with a couple twists that make it very, very interesting to me. It's pretty rules light, 12 pages of rules. It's kind of presented in not a magazine format, but very similar. Very thin rulebook, comes in a plastic bag. Single sheet or half sheet of counters kind of thing. One thing I like that they did, this is the cover, and on the back of it is the player chart, so you get a nice, still sturdy player chart instead of having something on paper. The order of battle is on the back of the rule book, which I just made a copy of here so I could lay everything out. So the designer credits the Task Force Games or Victory Games Korea as pioneering the system that he uses here. There's no movement and combat phase. It's combat is part of movement, and you have to pay for the combat you want to do with movement points. Code modifiers were, so right here we have light attack and the movement cost, medium, heavy attack. The movement costs for motorized or infantry, which is pretty interesting as we focus here. Again, pretty interesting CRT. It has attacker and defender results on it. Defender takes their results first, and then the attacker applies theirs. I need to leave this up here because I'm going to be following it. It's a chip pull game, but not in a traditional one cup. This is a 2-cup system, so each player has their own cup. And each player has action chits and tactical chits. The tactical chits are like special activities that can happen. This is a plus or minus to a combat roll, plus for you or minus to your opponent. And you can say, hey, before you roll, I want to make your roll minus, or I want to make mine additional, an extra move. And this is a night reinforcement. And then we have activations for the 2nd Panzer and the 116th Panzer. And the allied player has a similar setup in his cup for the units that are on the table now, excepting the British, who are set up out here defending the town, but they're not going to activate until Christmas, which is right there. So the game is 8 turns long. We have night turns and day turns, so each turn is half a day, 12 hours. We'll keep track, and then on here it shows us how many actions each player gets. So 2 and 4, 1 and 2. So the Germans start out with more. They have 5 to 3 this first day, and the second day they're going to have 8 to 7, and then it starts going in the Allies' favor. So pretty interesting stuff. Here's the initial setup. We have the Germans right here, and then the Allies kind of trying to cut them off. What the Germans are trying to do is get to the river, still be in supply. This is their supply area down here. Yeah, I guess it's right here. They're trying to be along the river, and they collect victory points that way. They also collect victory points for inhabiting some of the towns around the map. And then both players are trying to, or they get points from the other player's dead units at the end of the game. So that's pretty much it. It uses a D10. I don't have brown and green or gray and green D10s, so I use this. This will be Germans, and this will be allies. We'll roll for initiative. It's a day turn, so it doesn't matter. Or it's a night turn, excuse me. During night turns, Germans get +1 to their die roll. During the day, the allies get +1. The initiative player gets to decide who goes first. So I think the allies will take it. They're going to draw a chit, and what you do is, well, we got one. So that's going to be their only activation. They get, as we saw over here, they get 1 activation for this turn. So this should be here, but I like just, this is going to be out. I'm at my limit now. If a tactical chit had been drawn, it goes in the available, and then those are available to use during the activation. But that's not going to come into play here. So we have the 4th Cavalry that can activate, and the way you do an activation is if this is a unused side, or sorry, that's the used side. You can see it's slightly reduced. It has the bars on here. This is the unused side. So if it's flipped down, the first thing you do is flip it up for everything in that formation, or you can use that to activate 1 chit of any formation. So now it gets to decide what it wants to do, and it's moving, and then again, combat is a function of movement. Typical, terrain modifiers for moving through your own units cost, not for infantry, but for motorized units. All sorts of fun stuff. So I'll get a little bit deeper in and then come back and explain what's happening. And I have a correction already. Well, I have 2 actually. So what I didn't see, the rules reference something being available. I didn't see on the player aid chart that it has listed for the 23rd which chits can be on. So what I pulled was of the 4th Cav, which for some reason isn't on here. I guess maybe that's what that is. Yeah, I guess that would have to be it. So 4th Cav isn't available, so it's just 1 second armor that goes in. So this, and then with all of the tactical chits. And then for the Germans, we're looking at 1 Panzer Lehr, and they're not on the map yet. Here's the reinforcements that those can bring on. And the 2nd Panzer reinforcements. So that one doesn't come on. We have 1 of these and 1 of these. So those go on. We'll keep that roll. However, the other correction is with the German player having 2 draws and them having 1, they're going to pass and let the German player draw. And it's Lehr, so these guys can come on the map now, and they're going to come on at 2216, which is down here. So that costs no movement points. They pop up and they're going to get to move. This guy needs to move. No, he's there. These guys need to move back to where they were. I started taking the turn and something didn't seem right. So everything's reset. Cups are set up correctly. These guys come on and now they can activate, which they probably want to do, and try to surround this guy and start a fight. So here's how it's set up. This guy snuck around back. He's not going to participate in the fight, but he is exerting a zone of control, which is going to make it hard for this guy to retreat through there. He can't retreat this way because of the river, and he would be in zone of control here. This guy's going to come up. He's going to launch a medium attack, which is 6 movement points. It took him 2 to get here, so he has enough movement with 9. So let's look at our modifiers. There's none of this. Medium is 0. night attack is +1 to the German. The town is -2. And none of this. There's no -1 modifier because this guy isn't participating. However, he could participate in this guy's battle because he's attacking here. When you're fighting, you have to attack everyone you're adjacent to, and then anyone else adjacent to the enemy or enemies you're attacking can attack them, and then you sum everything together. If that makes sense, I'm sure that'll be illustrated a little bit more later. So with this, it's 1 to 1, and then we're going to be at a -1. There's -2 here, +1 here. That's saying it's time for me to go to work. So we'll roll on our CRT. 4, 1 to 1. That's going to be at a -1, so that's not good. 3. The attacker retreats. So this guy has to retreat 2 hexes. He could retreat this way. He just has to be farther away. And maybe that's actually 1, 2. Maybe that's a better retreat there. So that's it. This guy's gonna go now. He's hoping for a tactical chit. He gets one. It's combat. Extra move. Day replacement. Allied air, which doesn't take place because it's night. You can't use air power at night. And now we activate. So now we have to figure out who we're doing stuff with and then use these before we do any of the stuff on the map.